You're watching PEGRI TV, Rhode Island's public access channel.
Good evening, I'm Bill Mulholland, and welcome to Good Sports Classics. Tonight, Central Falls native Kelley returns to discuss her coaching and athletic director careers at Central Falls High School. Kathy appeared on Good Sports Classics in October of 2024 and talked about playing for Bob Ferry's Holy Trinity basketball and softball teams, her all-state cross-country and basketball times at Central Falls High, and her Hall of Fame basketball career at Rhode Island College. Welcome back to Good Sports Classics, Kathy.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks for having me back. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good to have you here. And so we're going to go into a whole nother realm of what you were doing for the last 30 years after that. So in 1982, you graduated from Rhode Island College with a teaching degree and started your coaching career with a 2-year stint as an assistant basketball coach for the Brown University's women's team. Now, that's an impressive way to start your 30-year coaching career there, Kathy.
Yes, I remember looking into the Providence Journal for the Help Wanted section, looking for jobs, after graduating, and I saw an assistant coaching position at Brown University.
You're kidding me. Brown University
Brown
put
University.
in Projo?
Well, this was 1982
yeah,
as well,
true.
so,
Yeah. Okay.
So I applied, and Maureen Enos, as the head coach, called me and offered me, it was like the second assistant coaching position, because they had one full-time assistant coach, so I was the part-time second assistant, and my job was doing some scouting, so I used to drive to different venues and give a scouting report, and I got to travel with the varsity team, and we also traveled one year to California over the Christmas break and played 2 games.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, I think we played at the University of San Francisco, and I'm not sure, another small school, but we practiced at an outdoor basketball courts out there, and we did a lot of team bonding, and exciting time in 1983, we won the Ivy League championship. So that was very exciting.
That could have been the first time they ever did it, or
I believe it was.
And maybe probably the last time too, right?
They've had some success, I think, over the years. I haven't followed them, but I'm pretty sure that was the first time they were Ivy League women's basketball champions.
So how was it different? So now you had played at Rhode Island College, did not do that much traveling, but somewhat. How was it different than Rhode Island College?
Well, at Brown, we used to play 2 games on the weekends. So they played, back to back, say Friday and Saturday. And so for traveling on the road, I guess because of their coursework, they would travel and do the games on Saturdays and Sundays. So I visited all the Ivy League colleges, which that was pretty exciting. Plus the basketball was Division I. So it was, a nice level of playing.
Yeah, great way to start your career.
Yes.
All right, then Kathy, you subbed for 2 years at your alma mater, Central Falls High School, as a math teacher, and then in the fall of 1984 became a full-time public servant. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I love having public servants on the show. Your first coaching gig began at the same time with cross-country, girls cross-country at Central Falls. How did your experience as the first female cross-country runner at Central Falls High during your career give you some experience?
Well, I had the best coach in Larry LaCroix, so all of our workouts were pretty much laid out for me, so I knew, the success that we had under Larry Tullidge. I adopted a lot of his same workout regimen. And and it also gave me an opportunity to run with the girls, which was important in Central Falls because running wasn't something that came naturally to a lot of the girls because we didn't have any middle school program. So when they came in the 9th grade and say, oh, let's join up for the cross-country team, it was hard to say, okay, we're going to practice and run 2 or 3 miles today, and something they hadn't done previously. So
Sure, and we have a photo of that team coming up. And so good experiences then?
Yes, yep.
And so how was it different when you first ran for cross country at Central Falls? That was the first girls sport ever at Central Falls.
It was.
So 10 years later, did you see the development of women's sports at that point in time now at Central Falls?
A little bit, because we had quite a few girls on the team. And basically, I think what was happening was in the picture that we just showed, we had some girls that played basketball and softball that wanted to stay in shape, so they chose to run cross country. So we had some athletes already and just had to introduce them into the running regimen,
Sure.
adding that to their
regimes and
Yes.
the rest. Yes. So Kathy, you had double duty in your first 2 years at Central Falls, as you were also the girls volleyball coach from 1985 to 1986, a sport that you never played before. So tell us what measures you had to undertake to become educated in the sport of volleyball.
Yes, so Roger Barad introduced volleyball to the high school.
The athletic director at that
yes,
time.
athletic director, yes. He did a survey and found that there was an interest in volleyball. And at the time, volleyball was played in the spring, which coincided with the softball season. So they were careful not to draw away girls from softball into volleyball. So they were having a hard time finding a coach. So he approached me and asked me if I would take over the team. So I did. And fortunately, when I was at Rhode Island College, I was a phys ed major at the beginning of my career. So I took a volleyball course. So I knew how the sport was supposed to be played, very different from what went on in the gym classes.
Sure.
And I also contacted a lot of my friends from Rhode Island College for drills, and to introduce to the girls for practice sessions. So I think for the first year it was okay. We also had girls that had never played any interscholastic sport before.
And was this the first year that volleyball was a sport at Central Falls?
At Central Falls, yes.
Okay.
So the girls that we had never had any experience playing any sport at all. So it was really a, earth-shattering experience for some of them, knowing that, we practiced every single day. And there was a little bit of running involved. And the passing had to, passing in volleyball happened on your arms. It wasn't just that volleyball that you play in the gym class.
Sure.
So there was a lot of learning.
So you did I would think you did no coaching, but did nothing but teaching at that point in time, right?
Very true.
Okay.
Very true. And we were in a tough division. We were playing schools like Bayview, East Providence, and a lot of the schools, Middletown, Rogers, and so there were some tough schools that we were playing.
But these girls got a chance to find out how sports could actually open up a whole bunch of different avenues for them about being disciplined, time management, and the rest. So, it was a good thing that you had that going.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, because these young ladies, a lot of them were ESL students.
Which is?
English as a second language.
Makes sense, okay.
So we had a lot of girls.
So how'd you deal with that?
Well, there was sometimes we had to do some translation,
okay.
And the girls would communicate from the bench sometimes to when they were on the floor. They would speak Spanish to them to tell them, to get into position or to, do different things. So it was an interesting time. They were a lovely bunch of girls, I remember.
Good. Now, Kathy, after a brief one-year hiatus from coaching, you took over the girls' fast-pitch softball reins from 1987 to 1999.
Yes, I did. And again, Roger Barad, the athletic director, had the foresight to see the Interscholastic League was beginning fast-pitch softball at that time. So Roger chose for Central Falls to be one of the first 13 teams to adopt to fast-pitch softball.
To go from slow-pitch softball, which was there when you were at Central Falls. Okay.
Yep, and it was courageous to do that because, again, we had the recreation softball, and we had the slow pitch, but we didn't have any experience with fast pitch, which it was all about the pitcher.
Sure, absolutely.
So, and when I took over coaching, we had players like April Peckham, Amy Corrigan, Claudia DeFaria, Tammy Plant, who were very, very good athletes and softball players.
Sure.
But no experience with fast pitch. So it was a learning process.
Yeah.
And the pitching was something that held us back because we just didn't have anybody that, had any experience up until that high school time of being a fast pitch pitcher.
So you said there were 13 teams that went from slow pitch to fast pitch. Now, fast pitch had already been established probably for at least 5 or 7 years before. So they went over and put those 13 teams from slow pitch into their own division, and then the other fast pitch that had been there for years were in their own division also, right?
Well, no, the original 13 teams was the beginning of fast pitch in Rhode Island.
Yes. Oh, okay.
It was all slow pitch up until that time.
Until 1987?
Yes.
Got it.
Yes, and we were one of the original 13 teams.
Interesting. And so what happened? You were there off and on from 87 to 99.
Yes.
So tell us about the growth at Central Falls. Did they finally sort of catch on with the rest of the state?
Well, so we were having some difficulty with the pitching, and we were getting beat quite a bit of runs. So
Did they have the mercy rule back then?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So my principal and I approached the Women's Sport Committee through the Interscholastic League, and my idea was that could we begin to have 2 divisions in fast pitch instead of having everybody lumped into one, because you had your really good teams like North Providence and Mount St. Charles, and if they offered a Division II slow pitch, maybe more teams would come over from slow pitch to fast pitch and could compete.
Makes sense. Yeah, absolutely.
And it didn't take, it didn't.
That was a no-go.
It was a no-go. For a number of years before the Interscholastic League decided to do 2 divisions in fast pitch.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
Right now, so Kathy, let's move on to 1994, and you finally get the opportunity to coach girls basketball at Central Falls High School, a sport that you excelled in as a Warrior and also at Rhode Island College. So in 1996, you started the Navigant Credit Union Injury Fund Tip-Off Tournament. Why?
Well, the boys always had a tip-off tournament in Central Falls, because you had to play an injury fund was one of the first games that you had to play for your season. And the boys always had a nice tournament with the Blackstone Valley teams, and they would get together, and I think they had a coach's dinner and things like that. So I said, well, let's see if we can do this for the girls.
Okay.
So I remember approaching Dick Bissett, who was Hall of Fame Central Falls basketball, and he worked with Navigant Credit Union, and we approached them and asked if they would give us funds to begin this tournament, and they did. So we had a dinner for the teams that we invited. So I think we tried to keep it Blackstone Valley also with
Sure.
Shea and Tolman. And I forgot who the 4th team was, but we had a nice dinner with the coaches and all the girls. And that banner that we'll see,
Yeah,
the
we got a photo coming up
yes,
of
the
that.
art department made the banner for us, so we kind of got the whole school involved. So it was
Yeah.
exciting that we started that tip-off tournament.
And what did the Rhode Island Interscholastic League think about that? Were there other injury funds tournaments early in the season, right?
Sure,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, 'cause
Yep,
I
every school was responsible for setting up their own injury fund contest. And some schools did it through like a little bit of a tournament, and so we jumped on board with that.
Yeah, because I remember Ed McVeigh and Dennis Lynch went
Sure.
over and created one similar to that, the Tip-Off Classic.
Correct,
Yes.
yes.
So Kathy, you were busy in 1998 receiving an Ocean Spray $2,500 grant and a Women's Sports Foundation and Reebok $1,000 grant. So how did those funds benefit basketball in Central Falls?
Yeah, so I received in the mail a publication from the Women's Sports Foundation, who were offering a lot of initiatives for girls' sports at the time. So I saw these grants, and I applied for them. So, and my thought was that if we won, that we would develop a middle school program, because we did not have that at the time. There was no middle school sports.
Feeder
program
sure.
at the middle school for the high school. So I used that money, and we developed a 10-week after-school middle school program. And the varsity players served as coaches and referees, and we even
Nice.
brought back some of the alumni to come in and coach. So we started that. But also, too, at the same time, I think, as you know, Summer League basketball was also always very important in Central Falls and Pawtucket.
With Eddie Heroux.
With Eddie,
Absolutely.
yes. Yes. So through the Central Falls Police Department, there was a police officer named John LaBassiniere, whom John and I grew up on the same street in Central Falls on Darling Street, and he became the DARE officer, which is part of the Community Policing Initiative.
Sure.
So John started the Summer League basketball, the police league, and he did it for the boys. And he approached Joe Handy and myself and said, let's try to get something going for the girls. So we did, and we went down to, we brought the girls down to Sacred Heart Avenue Playground, and we had a high school league for girls, and we attracted girls, from the Pawtucket area and Central Falls high school girls.
And they played for their high schools, right? I mean,
Well, because it was the police league, we just kind of did like a draft, and we just made, I think we had 4 teams.
Okay, got it.
But most important of that whole thing was prior to the high school games, we developed, and through John, a middle school program. So we opened it up to girls in grades 4 through 8. So they would come down for about an hour and a half before, and John gave them, everybody, uniforms. They had a top and a pair of shorts that they had to wear all the time if they wanted to participate in the police league. That was a requirement, and we just taught the kids the basics of basketball. We were like running a clinic every single week, doing drills, and again, we had the high school girls helping out, serving as coaches. And an exciting time that year, too, was John and I raised money somehow, and we took the girls to New York to see the New York Liberty play.
Really? The WNBA?
Yes, the WNBA. They were just starting back then.
Yeah.
And we went on a big coach bus, and we filled the bus with the kids, and it just was really a magical time. We did that maybe for 2 or 3 years anyways. And
Got your kids out of Central Falls and had them go over and see there's something more than just little Central Falls there, right?
Yes, it was really exciting to go to Madison Square Garden and watch the New York Liberty play.
Yeah. And did you see the girls that started in the 4th grade and the 8th grade that you talked about the development? Now they were coming up and actually played for you?
Yes.
Were some of them some of the big stars that we would know of?
Eventually, well, the Cooley girls started out in the middle school, Angelique and Brianna. They had a great career at the high school. So yeah, I saw a lot of the middle school girls that eventually stayed in athletics and participated at the high school level.
Cool.
Yes, it was really a great program.
Yeah, it was. Kathy, so in 1999, the Warriors were Northern Division schoolgirl basketball champs. Now we have a photo of that team. I want you to give us a scouting report on each of the players and also on assistant coach Joe Handy. So let's start from left to right with the girls holding the basketballs. Who do we have?
Yes, so the first player is senior Karen Norden. Karen served as one of the captains that year, and she was a starting small forward, very reliable player, great defense, and a good leader for the team.
Okay,
Yes.
Next to her?
Next to her is junior Carmen Pizarro, who Carmen, very, very talented three-point shooter. In fact, she owned the Blackstone Valley three-point championship all 4 years in high school.
The most trays made,
The
right?
most three-pointers made. She was
Nice.
unbelievable.
Yeah?
Yes, unstoppable.
All right.
Yep.
And next to her is your
Next-
superstar.
Next to her is Lindita Liebert.
Okay.
And,
Let's talk about her.
when she came to us as a freshman, Joe and I were just, we had heard how good she was coming up, and she was just a superstar.
How big?
She was only about 5'6".
Yeah. So what was special about her?
She was so fast.
Yeah.
She could do things, and people would, she just would leave them in the dust. She could, go between her legs, around her back, make, no-look passes, stop and pop on a dime, and just, people always talked about her being able to play and start on the boys' team.
Yeah, I
She
wouldn't
was
be
that good.
surprised. Well, only because, when I'm writing the memories, I've seen her name, and she was a triple-double machine, whether it was
Yes.
steals and rebounds and the rest, but
Yes.
she was that good.
She was good and unselfish. We would have to tell her sometimes, Lindita, no, that's your shot. You need to take it. Or, follow up and take that layup instead of passing, because sometimes the girls weren't ready for her passes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Joe Handy talked about that with Poochie Nunez. You know, Poochie would have had a lot more assists at that point in time, you know, if he could hold on to those.
Yep.
All right, and so let's go up to the top left, and it's your assistant coach, Joe Handy.
Oh, one of my best friends ever. You know, Joe was coaching the girls when I arrived. He had been an assistant coach for Steve Nadeau, and he's just a great coach, and certainly he became the head coach for many, many years afterwards. But Joe and I got along great. We did everything together, and he was a great X and O guy and could develop a lot of plays on the fly, and just a great supporter of girls' athletics.
Yeah, and a great 6'4" center, as you can see. He towers over the girls there.
Right, yes.
And they won the state championship. We had Ed McVeigh and Joe Handy on the last show.
Yes, yep.
All right, and so now let's talk about the girls. Next to Joe.
Next to Joe is Kinga Dobrinsky.
Okay.
I think she was either a freshman or a sophomore in this picture, but so she came off the bench. She was a swing player during this time with this team, you know, getting some minutes in the JV game. And Kinga eventually owned, just like Carmen did, the 3-point championship for 2 years in her career. So she would give us a lot of minutes in, you know, playing time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Next to her?
Next to her was the other captain, senior Amanda Reifer, who small forward, tough as nails, three-sport athlete, very reliable defensive player out there, and another good leader on the team.
All right, and next to her?
Next to her was Sue Ellen Rivera. And Sue Ellen was about 5'9". She would come off the bench and give us some really good minutes when we went with our tall lineup. She could get a lot of rebounds, and Joe worked with her on doing the drop step and you know, getting the rebound and putting it back up. And Joe did a lot of work with Sue Ellen, so she was effective on the offensive glass.
Joe would know that, right?
He would.
Absolutely. And who's the big girl? Looks like Shaquille O'Neal back there.
Well, you know, her nickname was Shaq.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Jassy Nah.
How big?
Jassy was probably 6'1".
Okay.
Funny story about Jassy.
Sure.
When I was doing, teaching, doing corridor duty, because we were at the time a junior, senior high school, I would see this girl walk past my classroom every day, and my head would go up, and I'd say, "Oh, well." I called her over one day and said, "Excuse me, miss, we need to talk." Okay. So, and she had never played any sports at all, so everything was new to Jassy, but she gave it a shot, and she ended up being a great player, and again, Joe worked with her a lot.
And just a valuable asset, right,
yes.
in the long run.
Yep, her height, and and we gave her minutes in the JV game as well, just to get some playing minutes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
and the girl right below her?
That is Kristen Macedo. I think Kristen was a freshman in this picture, so she...
Just a little girl there at that point in time, huh?
And she was the point guard, so she didn't get a lot of varsity playing time because she would have been playing behind Lindita, but I think when she eventually came to varsity during her junior and senior year, had a good career.
All right.
Yes.
And next to her is a pretty good-sized girl.
Yes, that is my niece, Jennifer Kelley.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yep,
Okay.
Jen, knowing that I'm from Central Falls, my family, so Jennifer went to the high school, and she would come off the bench, and being again a big girl, when we went with that big lineup, we put her in and get some minutes, and she was a very good rebounder.
Yeah, and
Yes.
how was it coaching, how did she feel about Auntie coaching her?
I was they would always call me Luther.
Oh.
And they still call me that today when they see me.
Okay.
Yeah. She calls me Auntie now, but at the time I was...
Because you were Kathy Luther at that
Kathy
point in
Luther,
time.
yeah. So I'm still Luther today to all of these girls.
Okay.
Yes.
And the girl next to her?
So next to her is Riza Gonzalez, who was
I know that name. I mean, she was a great rebounder, but she doesn't look that tall.
She doesn't in that picture, but she's as tall as Jen. I think might be a little hunched over in that picture, but she's a good size, and she was a 1,000-point rebounder at the high school.
Yeah.
So she had a great career. She was a good athlete, very good softball player as well, and she was as tough as nails out there. Yeah.
All right. And who's the next girl?
That next to her is sophomore Jasmine Rivera, who again was playing a lot of swing on the JV program, and when she went in, she would give us some good minutes defensively.
Okay.
Yes.
And at the very end is yourself.
Yes.
So give us a a scouting report on Kathy Luther at that point in time as a coach. What type of coach were you?
Well, I think I was pretty tough with the girls because I liked discipline on the team. You know, so when we were at practice, it was no nonsense. We were there to practice because I always felt whatever you did in practice, you did in the games. So we didn't have a lot of downtime at practice. We kept things moving. Joe and I did, and so I'd like to think I was, but
fair, but
fair,
tough.
and always, there with an ear to listen to the girls. Yes.
Very good. All right, so that worked out well, and those were the Northern Division champions in 1999. So now the Lady Warriors, Kathy, went back to back the following year as the Northern Division champions in 2000. We have a photo of your starting five wearing their champion jackets on the steps of Central Falls High. So introduce each of the players, and I think all those girls actually played for you in the 99, and then chat about the 2000 campaign.
Yeah, so we were 21-5 that year, only losing 2 players. So we had everybody returning. And
wow.
the teams that were big rivals for us were North Smithfield, Johnston, coached by Danny Missoula, and Situate, coached by Gene Angel, and North Smithfield was coached by Sean Reddy. So they had very good coaches and very good programs.
And were you in D2 at that point
We
in time?
were in Division II,
Okay.
yes. And we didn't always, I don't want to say we didn't always enjoy playing them, but I know they didn't enjoy playing us because they had to face Lindita and they had to face Carmen because they were that inside-outside threat.
Sure.
So if Lindita was driving to the basket, she could kick it out to Carmen, and she was left open probably more than she should have been because she was deadly from the corner, from the 3-point range.
So we got the photo coming up now. So starting from the upper left and going around.
Yep. So that's Sue Ellen Rivera.
Okay.
And at this point, I think Sue Ellen might have been on the starting lineup in the for the 2000 team.
Sure.
Yes. And next to her is Riza Gonzalez, she just was on a mission that year. She wanted to achieve 1,000 rebounds. So
the bullseye was
she
on your
did.
team also, right? With everyone coming back. So you were the team to beat.
Yes, we
and
were.
And they didn't beat you. Okay.
Yes, we were. And then the front was Karen Norton. And she was, just, again, not a big scorer, but very reliable player to have out on the court and a good leader.
Okay.
Yep. And then, of course, behind her is Lindita Liebred, and just a special player. And
was that Lindita's senior year, right?
This was. Yep,
Yeah.
this was all of their senior year.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And then Carmen Pizarro behind her. And Carmen's an assistant principal now at Central Falls High School.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Following Kathy Kelley's footsteps.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the girls gave Joe and I this picture in a nice frame.
So this
at
was
the
a
end of the
surprise
year.
for you.
Yes. Yeah. This picture stays on my bureau. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, still.
And what did you provide to that team in 1999 with the Northern Division? So I see that they have their jackets in 2000. Did they get anything for 1999?
I think the jackets might have been from 99, and I
Okay.
think we received rings in 2000.
Good,
Yes.
good. All right, now Kathy, you were named the D2 Coach of the Year in both 1999 and 2000, justly deserved, that's for darn sure. And your team was honored with the Providence Journal's Division II Sportsmanship Award in 2000. What do those honors mean to you and also to the team?
Well, to be selected as Coach of the Year from your peers always means a lot.
Absolutely.
It's a lot of respect there. And the Sportsmanship Award, Joe and I, being from Central Falls, we always preach sportsmanship. And we wanted the girls, when we left the city to travel to another school, to always represent Central Falls well. And we had a lot of pride, so we preached sportsmanship all the time.
All right, and so, now you didn't, as Coach McVeigh did with the boys, you didn't make the girls wear red sweaters to...
No, we didn't. I enjoyed that story. I'd forgotten
Yes.
about that. But the girls had to dress to go, dress appropriately to travel. Yes, we just didn't go in sweatsuits. And
so how do you qualify for the sportsmanship? What are they looking for? So there has to be a committee, I guess, out there, or do the coaches vote on it, or how did that come about?
This award came from the Providence Journal.
Yeah, it did.
So I think it's the sports writers who select. Maybe they are the ones that covered your team throughout the year, saw different characteristics as they covered your team throughout the year.
And that was important to you also to
That
be
was a big
to
award.
be a good winner, but even a better loser when you had to. Not that you lost a lot.
Correct, but
Okay.
I always preach that too, that we always would, if we win with grace. If we lose with grace as well.
Yeah. And so you ended your coaching career at that point in time with 95 wins, 49 losses. I mean, that's 2 out of the 66% win ratio. Happy with your career as a coach as far as that basketball, your favorite sport?
Yeah. Yep. I mean, I had to give it up at that point because my son was starting to play hockey, and I didn't want to miss any of his hockey games or practices or things. So that's why I had to step away from coaching basketball.
Sure. Sure. So, Kathy, let's move on to your 7-year term from 2005 to 2011 as the Central Falls High School Athletic Director, where, during the course of your tenure, you received the Rhode Island Interscholastic League Athletic Director of the Year Award in 2009 and the Lenore Cranston Service Award in 2012. Congratulations
Thank
again.
you.
You were just a winner, no matter whether you're playing or coaching or whatever you're doing. What were your responsibilities as the Warrior AD?
Well, I will say that all of the athletic directors prior to my time, Ed McVeigh, Ted Constant, Roger Barad, Tony Rainone, all left that athletic department. It was a well-oiled machine.
Full-time job, though, right?
Well, it's considered to be a part-time because I was still a full-time teacher.
Okay.
So you would only get, you still had to teach, depending on the schedule, either 1 or 2 classes. So you could not, focus your entire time on athletics.
Okay.
And when I first received the job, one of the other athletic directors at a school said to me, I don't know whether to send you a congratulations card or a sympathy card.
Condolences.
Yes, because you just don't realize that it is 24/7, 365 days a year job. Because
Right,
there's
yes.
always something that needs to be done, or a coach has a concern, or schedules change, the rain out, different things like that. So it was a wonderful job, very rewarding job, and I enjoyed every minute of it.
Yeah, and you had talked to me before the show about Joe Travers being instrumental for you as a volunteer, right?
Yes, yep. So Joe helped Ed McVeigh, I know as well. Joe was an athlete at the high school, and he was a phys ed teacher. And he wasn't able to do any coaching because of his children's schedule, but he was able to help out in the athletic department by covering games. Like if I needed to be at the softball field and he needed, go to the baseball field, let's say, or soccer and football. So Joe would always be there to do anything that you asked him to do. And if I knew Joe was in charge down at the soccer field, that everything would be fine because he had the respect of the kids.
Sure.
And he knew the kids in the city, and he was like my right arm.
Asset, right?
Yes.
Yes. So talk about your first year as the Warriors athletic director. How did that go?
Well, right away before I think that September, during the summer months, unfortunately, the tragedy of Michael Monteleone from Lincoln that passed away, the baseball player.
Yeah.
And
he passed away from
on the field when he was coming in. I think his heart gave out. So the big talk at the time was that if there were the AEDs, the automated external defibrillators, if there was one available, it would have saved his life.
Okay.
So the Interscholastic League, there was a big push that schools should have training and coaches should be trained with AEDs. So I kind of, that hit home because it was in Lincoln and he was just a freshman in high school, and everybody was upset about that.
Sure.
So I believe I contacted somebody at MedTech because there was articles in the paper about how, places need to have these AEDs in their facilities. So I contacted him and said, how do we do this? How do we get training for our coaches?
Was that Gary Reese?
And I think it was Gary,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, yes.
And he was very helpful, and I was able to secure an AED for each one of our coaches that fall season through donations.
Yeah, and they carried it with them to the games,
Yes.
and away games.
Yes, yep. And they had the training that they needed, and so that was, right off the get-go, I think, before September started. And So then my first year, that soccer season, the boys soccer team won the state championship.
The fall season was your first as a AD,
Athletic director,
right?
and we won the state championship.
The boys did?
Yes.
But they were known for state championships anyways,
They're
right?
very good.
Yeah.
Yep. I believe they were playing in Division I, too. And then the football team won the state championship during the same season, that first year.
Who was coaching that time?
Mo Jackson and Anthony Ficcicelli and Jeff LaPierre.
Wow. And so who were the studs at that? Do you remember who the...
Chief Montgomery.
Oh, yes,
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 yeah,
right.
Chiefy was on
because
that
his
team.
son is now going off to college, right?
Miami.
He's a big-time guy,
Yes,
right?
yes, big
okay.
time.
So that was your first experience,
Yes.
winning 2 state crowns.
Yes. It was very, very exciting, and it was fun. I kept saying to myself, this is fun, and I get to go to all the games and celebrate with
And
the
they're
kids.
winning,
Yeah,
and-
it was really fun.
Okay. And then also during your first year, you went over and coordinated unified sports.
Yes, well,
Right,
the
so tell me about that.
the Interscholastic League, I'm not sure if it was the first year, but sometime during my tenure as athletic director, they started the unified sports program.
Okay.
And that entailed having, for the special ed kids, and I think the first sport was basketball for the special needs students, and they would have like a partner that worked with them. So if you had 5 kids out on the basketball court, you may have 3 special needs students and 2 mentors. And that was just an exciting time because Central Falls adopted that program, and so we had a unified team, and it just took off in the school.
So where did you get the girls from as far
Well, they
as...
were boys and girls.
Oh, okay.
Yes, boys and girls.
So it was co-ed?
Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
And kids with all different, disabilities.
Yeah.
Were able to play. And I remember one day, and the Interscholastic League encouraged this of having it during the school day. So we filled the gym the last period, and I don't know which school came in, and so the gym was packed, and we had the athletes on the court, and they played basketball. And nobody cared who won, who lost. Whenever someone scored a basket, the place would erupt. Mm-hmm. And I just remember I had tears in my eyes because
special,
it was. So that was a nice addition.
And has that continued over at Central Falls?
Oh, yes. Yep.
Yes? Okay. That is
Yes.
just a regular interscholastic sport, so to speak, right?
Correct. And I think they do it in volleyball, and I'm not sure if it's soccer or not, but it's a big program from the Interscholastic League.
And so how did you recruit the non-disability athletes? Were they willing to come over? Did you have to recruit them, or did you have to
no.
sort of turn some of them away because there wasn't enough room for?
Whoever the coach was of the team, I believe came from the special ed department. So
Okay.
it wasn't, you didn't need a lot of basketball background. So I think the coach was probably one of the special ed teachers. So they handled a lot of the recruiting of everybody.
But I'm talking about the regular basketball
partners.
players.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think the coach did that too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There was no shortage of help. Yeah.
Good. So Kathy, tell our Good Sports audience about the Block Island trips that you coordinated for the boys and girls soccer team. So I'm sure they had never been on a ferry and never been on an island. So tell me how that all came to be. That's a good story.
Yes, so our principal, Jack Lyle, retired. And his next position, he became the superintendent of schools out in Block Island. So he called me up one day and he said, Kathy, we have some athletes out here at our school, some soccer players. Do you think we can get, Coach Marchand and, get some kids together and come out and play the Block Island team? He said, we might not have as many players, so we might have to put some Central Falls kids on the Block Island team and just make a game out of it. So we did, and we brought the girls and we brought the boys out to Block Island.
Were they apprehensive about going out there?
Well, they didn't know what to expect,
Right,
because
exactly.
they didn't know that Block Island existed, and
Right.
and they were just amazed and didn't understand how they would, get supplies out there. I remember one of the kids saying to me, "How do they even get cleats?" And they were amazed. So we actually called it the Friendship Games.
Nice.
So we went out there, and the kids got to go to the beach, and the bus from New Shoreham met us there, and the bus driver gave us a tour of Block Island with all the history as we went around before the game started.
Yeah.
And they had food for us after the game. So
was that just a one year and done, or was that
no,
something
No, the following year, Block Island came to Central Falls, and we did the same thing in Central Falls, and that was fun. And then we did it through softball too. A few years later, we were able to have a middle school softball team, and
you've got a great story for that. Tell me about that.
I do have a great story
Yes.
with that. Yeah, so I was the coach of the middle school softball program, which was exciting because, again, it was that feeder program to try to get some girls playing softball prior to their high school experience.
When you were the AD?
Yes, I was able to coach.
And you were still the math teacher?
Yeah, I was still the math teacher, yes.
Okay,
yes.
all right.
Yeah, so we took the middle school and the varsity players over to Block Island to play. And one of the middle school girls was up to bat, and she was only in the 6th grade. And, you know, it was a drop third strike. So I'm coaching third, and everybody's yelling run on the drop third strike. Well, she just panicked. She dropped the bat, and she started to run to the pitcher's mound. And Chucky Vermette I remembered who he was, the umpire, was standing there with his hands up in the air, and the girls charging after him. But the funny part was the Block Island catcher was chasing her with her glove.
To try to tag her?
To tag her going around the pitcher's mound. So I said to the girl afterwards, you know, geez, when did we practice this? I said, did we ever? She said, I don't know. She had no idea. She was so nervous and just, you know, overwhelmed. But that's the best story I have of my coaching career.
Absolutely. Now, I see, you know, in the paper, Block Island is in the Interscholastic League, but they weren't when you went over and visited them initially.
No.
So you think that was maybe the impetus for them to get into the league?
Yes. Well, you know, and I think probably just growth of the number of year-round students that are on Block Island, because that was part of it. Back then it was dependent on how many year-round residents that they had that wanted to play sports out in Block Island. So perhaps they have more year-rounders out there now because they do play in quite a few interscholastic league sports. And the students now, the athletes, they're making trips to Block Island regularly, even in the winter.
Yeah,
you know, for basketball.
Special.
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. So that's pretty exciting.
Now, Kathy, I want to go into sort of a little bit of a different direction, but still something that you had a very unique perspective on. So, from 1972 to 2011. Again, you had a unique perspective regarding the historic civil rights law entitled Title IX, which mandated equality in women's and men's sports. So you were on the Central Falls High School's first schoolgirl sports team in 1975. You played collegiate basketball from 77 to 82. You coached multiple schoolgirl sports at Central Falls from 1984 to 2004. And spent your last 7 years as athletic director. So tell us about your experiences, your personal experiences in the first 40 years of Title IX and how women's sports has grown from when you first went to Central Falls. There were no girls' sports there at that point in time.
That's correct, Bill. You know, when I look back at it now, as a participant, when I was in high school and Title IX was a word, it didn't really mean a lot because we didn't know. You know, as a 15-year-old kid, you didn't really understand what was happening there. So we were just thrilled to have an opportunity to play. And I think I was blessed that that happened to me, and that I was able to have that experience as a high school. Because I talk with women now that didn't have that opportunity, and they'll say, well, we didn't have anything. We didn't have any sports. My older sister, all we had was cheerleading. So I was really lucky that Title IX took place during my lifetime.
Absolutely.
But then when I was in college as well.
So how was that different then?
You know, even in college, I didn't notice any big difference between the men and the women's basketball. Whatever the men got, the women got. And it wasn't really a buzzword. It wasn't like, oh, well, you know, we had to fight for, you know, to get a coach bus to travel to the basketball game, you know, in the Rhode Island College, because it was there.
Right.
You know, it wasn't anything that we had to fight for. I had a good experience at Rhode Island College as far as that is concerned.
And they were also equal scholarships too. Now, so the men in college got all the scholarships, but not necessarily the women. But now it had to be equal scholarships also, right? And participation.
Right. Being at Division III, there were no athletic scholarships, so I wasn't really privy to a lot of that, but I know that was a situation where girls were receiving scholarships. You know, I got one in my freshman year. I think we talked about that before. I went to the University of Bridgeport, so I did have a basketball scholarship because they were Division II at the time, you know.
But that necessarily would not have happened if Title IX hadn't come around at that point in time,
yes,
too.
because schools were mandated at that point.
So it benefited you both from a participation in high school and now from a financial in college. And then, you know, talk about the coaching multiple sports and the growth that you saw after you graduated from Central Falls in 75?
77.
77, okay.
77, yes. So, interesting story, when I first started coaching, the coaches at Central Falls were receiving the JV pay that the boys were getting. So,
but coaching varsity.
But coaching varsity. So I brought it up, and again, I was very young, you know, maybe 23, 24 years old, to the union president and said, well, why am I being paid as an assistant coach? And, you know, so he, I guess, brought it back to the school committee, and the answer was that there weren't as many girls participating, and we didn't have as many games as the boys. And as a very young girl, I boldly did say, please ask them if they know what Title IX means.
Good for you, yeah.
And I did pull the Title IX card for the first time in my life, because I felt it wasn't right that the women's coaches were being paid as JV coaches.
And that was you know, Title IX encompassed so many other things, but for women's sports, that's what it was all about, is equal opportunity, right?
Right.
So was that? Do you think that was just at Central Falls, or?
No, no, I shouldn't say that. I don't know for sure, but I think it was.
Okay.
You know, because, you know, Central Falls was a little late to the game. We've talked about that before. Sure. Only introducing sports in 75, and when Title IX passed in 72, right?
Yes, correct.
Yes. So they were a little late with everything.
Yeah, well, and also in Central Falls, because of the population that you had, which was very much Hispanic, the women did not have so much of a big role as far as the men are concerned, right?
That's true, yes. I do remember that there was a struggle that once the girls had to have equal playing time in the gym, that didn't sync well with the men coaches. And there were some times where you had to say, well, we want that after school spot. Why do you have to have it? You know,
sure.
the 3 to 5 practice we would like to have. So it had to get rotated, you know, and that was part of the AD's job, to make sure that there was equal playing time in the gym and prime time as well, you know, practice right after school.
Sure. So 1977, how many sports, girls sports were there? Fall season you had cross country
and basketball and softball.
Right. So only 3 sports in 77.
Correct.
So now you come over and you start your coaching career in 84 with 84? Yeah, 84
yes.
At Central Falls. What do we have now for the fall season?
Still just cross country.
No girls soccer yet.
I don't believe so. I'm not sure when soccer was introduced. A little bit later, I believe.
Yeah.
A little bit later.
How about winter sports?
Just basketball,
Again.
and then they had the volleyball, because Roger Barad introduced volleyball along with softball in the spring. So volleyball probably came in before soccer.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
All right. And so now as the athletic director, so now we're talking 2005 to 2011. So now you've got over 20 years 30 years of Title IX happening. Now totally different at that point in time once we get into the 21st century for girls
yes.
sports.
Tony Ranone introduced the indoor track programs to Central Falls, so that was a big hit, the indoor track programs. And when I was there, Central Falls renovated Higginson Avenue, and they renovated the field, and they also put in a regulation track. So
Okay.
I was able to introduce outdoor track to Central Falls, which took off, because we had a great indoor program, so the outdoor program just grew. And we also had we had two outdoor coaches, Ernest Fennell and then Nick Palazzo, Nick
Okay.
Palazzo.
Yeah.
And Nick had a great career in high school and in college in the weight throws. And he recruited some girls probably that were not basketball players, they weren't softball players, but they were weight throwers in track.
Or had the potential to
the
be,
field
yeah.
athletes.
Right.
And we had an All-American hammer thrower and weight thrower, a lady Fernandez,
Nice.
under his direction. And we had All-American high jumper under Nick's direction too. So we had some All-American athletes in Central Falls,
Yeah.
which was, a rare commodity.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you know what? I want you to talk about coaching now. So when Title IX first came out, I would think that the coaches of the girls' team were probably all males. So talk about the sort of the metamorphosis of women getting involved in women's sports as far as coaches are concerned, and also referees.
Yes, well, I know referees, for example, when I was in high school, there were a few,
Peggy Lynch.
referees. Well, Peggy came later, but when
Later.
I was in high school,
Oh, okay,
there
when you were in high
there
school.
were some women referees, mostly women that were at other schools, might have been their phys ed teachers that learned how to referee, but there were a lot of males too, that were refereeing. And I think the same with coaching. We didn't have a lot of female coaches in Central Falls besides myself. We had my two high school coaches were women.
But in the early years, that had to be because you didn't have any girls or women who were athletes because Title IX wasn't around. So it probably took
Very
maybe about
true.
good 10, 15 years in order for those girls or those girls to become women and then to be able to start coaching, I would think.
Very true. Yes. Yes.
And you saw all that, right? I
Right.
mean, you were right there on the cusp of all that there,
Yes.
Kathy, along with yourself coaching all the girls.
Yep. Very, very true.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So anything else you want to talk about with Title IX?
Not so much with Title IX, but in Central Falls, when I was the athletic director, we introduced swimming to the high school, and that was a completely
Where
new
did you
sport.
swim?
So we swam actually at Tolman. I talked to John Scanlon, the athletic director,
Sure.
and we worked out a schedule for the Central Falls team, and we had boys and girls that new sport to them,
Sure.
And we had a couple of great coaches that had some swimming background themselves, so we offered swimming to.
So did you have to teach them to swim first before they were
There
able
were
to
some
compete?
that knew, how to swim, but
Yeah.
just not competitively, do the flips at the end of the, at the end of the pool. And, but it gave more kids an opportunity to participate in sports. I think during one of my years, I counted, and there were 1/3 of the student body were participating in athletics.
Nice.
At Central Falls.
And that's so important.
It
I
was.
mean, all the studies out there say the girls who compete in sports throughout in youth and high school do not have the bad experiences that they might have had, especially in Central Falls, where you're actually giving them an outlet to go to do something else.
That's true. Yep. And some of those kids today that I know, that I coach have had great careers. I know the Cooley girls are both involved in athletics at a higher level through coaching. And volleyball player Valerie Bios-Kachowa, she's a Hall of Famer. She's back coaching in Central Falls, the volleyball team, and she started the boys volleyball team. So they've added boys volleyball to the high school as well.
And the girls have been very successful in girls
Yes.
volleyball at Central
Yep.
Falls.
And Valerie's coaching that.
Now, Kathy, we've got about 5 minutes left in the show. You've been involved in the Interscholastic League's Injury Fund Committee since 2005. And we always hear about the Injury Fund, the tip-off classics that you had. But describe what the fund's function is in a couple of minutes.
Yes, so Tony Vanone asked me to join the Injury Fund in 2005. The injury fund actually started in the 1940s by Ted Stebbins Sr. It was, he was coaching football and he had a student that was injured and couldn't afford to pay the medical bills. So they had a fundraiser football game and they used the money to help defray the family's cost. So a lot of the coaches at that time in the 1940s got together and they decided to have a game every single year. And it was at first just to help football players. And then it evolved to other sports, and actually all sports in the Interscholastic League. And they incorporated themselves, and they had a committee of men like Ray Dwyer, Rowley and Gig Parasol from Pawtucket, and they included all the sports from the Interscholastic League. So you have to play an injury fund game, and the proceeds from the injury fund game get sent in, and the athletic director will receive forms from the family if there's an injury, and it goes to a committee, and the injury fund reviews and helps defray the cost of medical expenses.
Right.
And then later on, of course, when girls' sports came along, the injury fund board voted to include girls' sports. So every single Interscholastic League sport today plays an injury fund contest.
Right, and it's a preseason. It's before they start the regular season. The injury fund, whatever sport it is, they play that on like a less competitive time, but that's where the money goes. Now, you've
Absolutely.
been the treasurer for the injury fund over the last, how many years?
9 years.
Okay, and you've seen the money come in, you've seen the money go out, and,
Yes.
and you see how it all works very well?
Yes, I do. It's an amazing fund. It's the only one of its kind in the United States.
What do you mean? So
The other states do not have this kind of benefit to help families defray the cost.
I thought that was nationwide.
No, because
Really?
the athletic directors, when they go to the National Athletic Directors
Yes.
Contest, they try to explain what we do in Rhode Island with the injury fund, and it just doesn't happen in any other state. So it's so unique to Rhode Island, and the men that started this had the foresight of investing the money very well.
Yes.
And it benefits so many families today. And I receive the bills in the mail from families that their insurance only covers a certain portion, and the injury fund helps assist paying the cost.
Well, that's great for the state of Rhode Island.
Yes.
Now, Kathy, we only have 1 minute left in the show, so you've lived a storied sports life. From your 15 years of excelling playing sports to the last 30 years as a multiple sports coach and athletic director at Central Falls High School. What words of wisdom do you have for our schoolgirl athletes who want to follow in the footsteps of Kathy Kelley?
Well, my motto is that there are no limits to what someone can do, especially today with all the opportunities that are out there and the different careers that are available for women today. And you can major in things in college that I wasn't able to, like you can major to be an athletic director, you can major to be an athletic trainer, and coaching. They offer coaches courses now in college. So there's so many athletic careers that if someone wants to continue and pursue, that are available today. So there's no limit. And Joe and I, other motto was never say I can't.
Just say I will,
Yep.
right? All right, now Kathy, it has been a distinct pleasure to feature your exemplary sports story here on Good Sports Classics. To be able to positively impact the lives of your hometown is one of the supreme accomplishments that a public servant can achieve. Great job.
Thanks, Bill.
You're very
Thanks
welcome.
for having me.
A pleasure, absolutely. I'm Bill Mulholland for Good Sports. Good night.